I mean, here's a guy that criticizes everybody, whoever they take. He's got the answers to who you should take and who you shouldn't take. And all of a sudden, he's an expert. He's in our paper 2 days ago telling us who we have to take.
One of the most underrated quarterback prospects to potentially be in the 2022 class might just be Jason Brown from South Carolina. Originally playing at St. Francis, a small FCS program in Pennsylvania, Jason Brown dominated that level. In his most recent season playing for the Red Flashes, he threw for 3,084 yards and 28 touchdowns. Eventually, Brown would hit the transfer portal when the pandemic hit and found himself suiting up for the Gamecocks. For this week's Spotlight interview edition of the NFL Draft Prospects podcast, Ryan Roberts spoke with Jason Brown about his path from the FCS to the SEC. Before we get to that interview, though, folks, I need to quickly tell you about Bet Online. July is underway and a great month for sports. And if you're into sports betting, Bet Online is where you should go to win money today. With the NBA Finals ending and the MLB heading into the second half of the season, there's plenty of betting action to get involved in. If you're a football bettor, there are tons of futures and props you can wager on. BetOnline has all of the latest odds, news, and information for all of your online sports betting needs. Visit the website today or use your mobile device to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. So before the next tip-off, face-off, or pitch, head on over to BetOnline and start playing today. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts.
Welcome to this Believe in NFL Draft Prospect podcast. It's an interview edition. You know, it's a Thursday, so we are presenting you an opportunity to get an inside look into some of the best football players in all of college football. This is an exciting one for me, a young man that I have been touting up now for a little bit, to say the least. Of course, last time that we have spoken and you guys kind of get a glimpse into what a football player he is, he was a part of the St. Francis University football team as a record-setting quarterback, over 3,000 yards, 28 touchdowns as a redshirt sophomore. Unfortunately, with the COVID-19 pandemic, he had to make a decision and ultimately is now playing football in the SEC at the University of South Carolina. So I know a lot of things have been going his way and been some great moves happening. Jason, appreciate you, man, taking a little bit of time here today. How's everything been going for you, man?
Everything's been good. I mean, I love South Carolina. South Carolina is tremendous. I love it.
Oh, man, I know it. I'm really excited to be able to talk a little bit about it. Obviously, with you making the move over there with your good friend EJ Jenkins, and you guys are taking over Columbia, man. And I really do want to get into that in a second. For the people that have not been able to hear the work that I've done with Jason in the past, I wrote an article about him last spring. I brought him on to Mavs Sports Take podcast to talk a little bit about, just the COVID-19 pandemic situation and St. Francis' season getting delayed at that time into the spring. And then obviously a lot has kind of transpired since the last time that we spoke. But Jason, just general to start here, wanted to talk about, I know you're originally a Virginia guy out of Chancellor High School there in Virginia. Talk to the viewers, to the listeners, a little bit about your background as a recruit at Chancellor, and then why you at first ended up at St. Francis, eventually turning into a record-setting quarterback.
My recruiting process at Chancellor was slow. My senior year of high school, I received my first offer during my senior season of basketball, and it came from UVA Wise. And then later that month, I received one from St. Francis, and they ended up being one of my only two Division I offers. So it was they were one of my Division I offers, and then Delaware State was my other Division I offer. And then I took an official to St. Francis up in January, and I got EJ to come with me. I talked him into it because he was committed to ODU, and I talked him into coming with me. He just wanted to come to support me, and then he ended up getting offered. And then he ended up liking the place, coming with me. So, I mean, we had the opportunity to play together again, and we wanted to do that. So, I mean, we both chose a place where we could go play together at St. Francis. And that was actually like I said, that was one of my only two Division I offers, and I wanted to play Division I football. So kind of just took it and went with it and made the most of it.
Yeah, And a little more background on Jason. I already mentioned record-setting quarterback. His redshirt sophomore year, of course, during the 2019 season. He got his feet wet the year before a little bit in some game action as a redshirt freshman. And he's talking a little bit about, and I mentioned him already, EJ Jenkins, who's one of his lifelong childhood friends that is also a wide receiver that followed not only St. Francis, but also they're playing at South Carolina together now. And Jason, I know, kind of laying everything out, it's kind of been well talked about. I've heard a million interviews that you have done kind of just laying out the decision. And you even spoke to me about why the decision happened, obviously, when it did. So just for the viewers that don't have too much of a background, why was this decision for you to transfer from St. Francis the best option for you right now? And why a little bit into South Carolina? Was that the best landing spot?
So I actually didn't want to leave. I wasn't planning on leaving because they canceled our fall season. So we were like, okay, we're gonna play in the spring. And then about 2 weeks before we went back to school, we had no idea that they were going to cancel the spring season. Like, coaches had no idea, players had no idea. We all hopped on a Zoom call, and the athletic director was like, yo, season's canceled. We're going to focus on winter sports since they got their season canceled last year. So we were like, okay. So we didn't feel like we were a priority, or they didn't care as much about football as they do the other sports. So me and EJ had initially talked about it, and we were like, we got 2 years left to play. So, let's see if we can go somewhere bigger. During this time, being able to transfer in with COVID and everything, and we just felt like that would be best for us because we didn't want to have to rely on St. Francis to make that decision anymore, because the past two decisions that they made, resulted in us not playing at all. So
yeah,
we kind of we made that decision, and then I think later that day, after that Zoom call, we were both in the portal. So it didn't take us much time to get into the portal, and then we started getting interest pretty much immediately. EJ ended up getting like 8 offers at the time, and South Carolina was actually the only one that offered. And then, of course, they offered both of us, and then we were like, we've been together since 6th grade, so we might as well keep playing together. So
right,
we just took that offer, and now we're here.
Yeah, man. And obviously it's a great situation. The SEC football playing, at the highest level. I know it's a blessing for you. Talk to me a little bit. You said it was your only offer, but I know some people have a very positive interaction in the portal. Some people do not enjoy their experience. For you, what was kind of just the general outlook of being in the portal, and did you enjoy it at all? Was it mixed emotions? Like, what was that kind of experience for you?
I enjoyed it, but I was also kind of nervous because it's like, I'm in the portal. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like high school all over again, and it was because it was slow. It was slow a little bit because, of course, nobody's offering. They're just talking to you, giving you interest, they're just talking to you, really. So, it's kind of nervous because you don't know where you're going to end up, or even if you end up anywhere.
Right.
So I was thankful that Coach Satterfield and Coach Kimmer and all those guys got in contact with us and ended up offering us, because, that was definitely a stress reliever, because you don't know what's going to happen when you're in the portal. Anything can happen. You might not even end up anywhere. So
yeah,
it was definitely a good thing that it happened. I'm thankful that it happened.
And obviously South Carolina's breaking in a new coaching staff. So I'm sure you don't, there's no different for you, right? Like, this is what it is. Like, this is the first year of South Carolina's coaching staff. This is the first year you're with the program. So you don't know about like what the differences are as far as how they're running it versus Coach Muschamp and the previous staff, all that good stuff. But so far, your impressions of the coaching staff and how much that you have enjoyed your time at South Carolina so far.
They're great. From Coach Beamer all the way down to the position coaches, coordinators. They're every single day, whether it's practice, lift, they always bring energy. Half of them will pop into the weight room and get their guys juiced up beforehand or things like that. They're great guys. They love what they do. You definitely tell they love what they do. They're very passionate about it, and it's fun. It's fun to play for them. Honestly, it's very fun to play for them.
Yeah. And Jason, I'm not geographically the best sometimes, but obviously you from a Virginia guy playing at South Carolina. How close is that to home? Because I know obviously you went all the way up to PA to play football. How close are you to home now?
I'm only 6 hours away from home.
Gotcha.
Not too far. Only 2 more hours than I was from St. Francis, so not too
Okay.
bad.
Gotcha. I'm sure you're enjoying, obviously, the experience. And I know you had your spring practice. I had the ability to see the spring game. And, of course, Jason Brown throws a touchdown to E.J. Jenkins. Who would have thought that would have happened? How was that? How was the spring experience, being able to mesh with the team? I know I know it's unnerving sometimes, right? Like, you go into a new situation, you have to learn new people, you have to meet new people, you have to kind of find your role on the team. For you as the quarterback, how was that transition into the spring practice, and how was the spring just overall?
Spring was fun. It was challenging. You're learning a new playbook, and I'm in the SEC, so everything is very precise. And Coach said he makes sure that we know our P's and Q's. And spring practice was fun. We had 15 of them. It was great to get better each day. We went in, we would lift. The lifts are a whole lot different from where I was, that's for sure. The lift big has us. I've never seen some of these muscles on my body before, but until I got here, so it's crazy. The lifts are crazy, the practices are crazy, high intensity. Luke Doty was our starter for the entire spring, so it was fun to get behind him and kind of learn from him in a way, because he's very smart. He's very smart. And he played a little bit last year at the end of the season for South Carolina. So it was kind of good to get some insight from him, because he's been here for a year. He knows all the guys. So it was fun working with them, working with him, and just working with all the coaches and the players and everything, and getting to know them and bonding with them throughout that entire spring practice.
And I know spring games are obviously a much different atmosphere than a real game, a regular season or a postseason game or whatever it is. But for you, how much fun was it to get back on the field after the long absence, long layover of playing, and to cap off the spring again? EJ in the back of the end zone, back right pylon, fantastic throw. How was that experience for you?
That was fun, because the last crowd I played in front of that was that big was at JMU, and we got beat by a lot that game. So it was nice. It was nice when I got in there. When I get in there, I just play football. That's just what I do. I get in there and I make plays. And I got in there and it was like, all right, I'm putting seven on the board this drive. Drives are limited in the spring game. We have 4 quarterbacks, so they're limited. And I ended up driving down the field. We drove down the field, and I threw a corner out to EJ in the end zone. So there was a lot of emotion in that, just because that's something you dream of. I've thrown him the ball since 6th grade, and then he ends up being the person that I throw the touchdown to in the spring game. So, and then I threw him another one in situational periods at the end of the scrimmage to walk it off. So, it was fun. I actually ended up throwing him 2 touchdowns, only 2 passing touchdowns of the day. So, that was very special.
Yeah, and you mentioned obviously Luke Doty being the guy that is probably the main competition. I know that you're in the quarterback battle that's going to go into the fall. How excited are you about just the ability to compete in that competition? And for you, what are some things that maybe you have in your mind that you want to improve on heading into fall practice so that you give yourself the best opportunity to take that job?
I love to compete. There's a lot of, our 3 other quarterbacks in that room. We got Connor, Jordan, Colton, and Luke, and they're all really good football players. They're there for a reason. So, sure. I love to compete. We all love to compete. We're in the film room every day. We're with each other all the time. They're great guys. And things I want to work on, I would say my footwork, especially, have to be on point with that, and trying to get a little more slim, so I can escape some of these bigger guys that are be coming off the edge. It's not like the FCS football. I'm in the best conference of college football now. These guys are legit. So
yeah, you always hear about
get away from them a few times.
Yeah, I totally understand. And obviously, people always talk about that difference in game speed. I know you've been in practice and then in the spring game. Is it legit? Is it true what people were telling you about that difference?
Oh yeah, definitely. That D-line. The D-line, half the time I'm having to hitch over my drop because they're flying up the edge or something. We got some good guys up front, so it's definitely a challenge, but it's fun.
Yeah. And kind of last I wanted to ask you about, Jason, is, I've talked to you a little bit about this before, but I'm obviously been a big believer in the player that you are. I think that you're going to have a good opportunity to play not only at this level, but at the next. For you kind of looking forward, I know that, you're still trying to find your role, get the job, all that good stuff. Like there's a lot of things that have to be answered here, but to know eventually you might have the opportunity to play professional football, just how much of a blessing would that be? And maybe a little bit into when that first was a dream of yours to play football in the National Football League.
I play this game for that reason. I want to be able to go to the NFL because, I love playing football. So that's the thing. Not even about the money or any of that. Just to have the opportunity to play football as my job would be a blessing. And then of course the money comes with it. And I'll be able to help my family, things like that. My kids, things like that. So that's definitely a blessing, and I think about that all the time. And then, when did I start thinking about it? I'm not sure when I started thinking about it, but I started playing football when I was 5. So I'm very goal oriented. So I'm sure when I was 5, and I was watching them on TV with my dad, I was like, yeah, I want to do that one day. So I'm sure it started way back then, but I can't give you an exact age for that.
We'll just call it a lifelong dream. And again, I'm joined here by Mr. Jason Brown, quarterback out of South Carolina, former St. Francis transfer. For all the Gamecock fans out there, I think you should be very excited for Jason to get his opportunity with the team this fall. I think he's a fantastic football player. He's got big-time potential. I think he's a next-level kid as well. So, Jason, I appreciate you, man. Again, it's always fun to be able to catch up with you a little bit, man. Wishing you the best of luck in the competition, and I look forward to seeing you next fall. Please.
Thank you.